Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Kirsty and this is Stuck in the Mud. I hope you all had the best Christmas you possibly could have had. I know myself, I took a little bit of a break because I did feel a bit overwhelmed this last Christmas, and it's funny, considering the last video I did when I was talking about how Christmas can kind of bring up these feelings, these holiday times of year where we're just we're running on empty, our stress levels are high, and I felt overwhelmed. I did. It did kind of exacerbate some residual anxiety and OCD for me. So I think I did the best thing, which was just take some time out from everything and reset, which I have done. And that goes nicely in today's video because it all is about the new year and how are we going to move forward with our OCD and anxiety healing journey into a brand new year? And people often will set New Year's resolutions, which on the whole, I think for most people, they usually fail because we can set these massive goals at the beginning of a new year. And, we're always focusing on the end result. So, that might be to lose weight or, for myself, that is one of my goals. But, it's going to take time and there's going to be steps along the way to take. But also another one for myself would be decluttering the house. I just feel like the house is so crowded. We have a lot of people here. We have 8 people living under my roof. So it's a big, busy house and I need to declutter because things have just got crazy around here. Everything's just feels like the walls are caving in on me because, we've got so much stuff that I need to clear through and get rid of. And, I can see the end result there and it's going to be amazing, but there's going to be a lot of steps to get to that point, whether it be losing weight, like I say, or decluttering the house. There's steps that we're going to have to take along the way before we get to that amazing end result. And that is the same for OCD and anxiety and the way we heal. Because I think, like I said, resolutions, we can have a resolution that this is going to be the year we beat OCD. It's not going to control me anymore. And that's a brilliant goal to have. However, we can often set ourselves up for failure because we're not concentrating on the actual important part, which is actually setting those foundations, the groundwork that we need to do to get to that point. And, we need to have these building blocks, which get us to a place of healing, which, I feel like I am at that place now in my life. And it's taken a long time to get here. It's not going to be a quick fix and it's going to have some setbacks along the way. So I think all in all, if we're not actually concentrating on what we need to do to get to that end result, we do set ourselves up for failure because it's not simple. It's a complicated ride to get through this, but it's possible, it's doable. And, if we have the right framework behind it, we will get to that point. So talking about this, the things we need to do, because with OCD and anxiety, we often use behaviours, these safety-seeking behaviours, which, are comforting. They help us get through day to day, but ultimately they are also holding us back from healing from this. They just follow us around through life because, it feels like that. It feels like it's constantly chasing us because we fall back on these safety-seeking behaviours, which then, we're sending a message to our brain that this is wrong. It shouldn't be here. We can have a lot of intrusive thoughts and, we're ultimately leaning into the rumination and, we're getting involved with it all. We're just using our rituals to try and bring some peace and comfort. And in the moment, they often do, but it doesn't last. We get trapped in the cycle and we begin to feel stuck. We don't feel like we're moving forward. So it's important that we do something about that. If we're going to move forward, we're going to set these goals for the new year where we're going to do things differently. I really like the thing of, we're setting a target where we're going to do something differently. What am I going to do different today to actually, get me to that place where I want to be with my OCD and anxiety healing journey? What am I going to do differently this week? It doesn't even have to be on that day. It can be, you could set yourself a goal of, what am I going to do differently this week? And that might be that when you notice you're getting pulled into an intrusive thought or a ritual or an image in your head, that we let it be there. We don't involve ourselves. We feel that anxiety, we feel that fear, and we sit with that discomfort. And it's tricky, it's hard. I found myself, like I said earlier, over the Christmas period, I did find myself feeling some old fears that came about. It's something I will talk about. It came about with some new symptoms that I hadn't experienced before. But it did lead to me, that rise in anxiety and feeling it. And that was because I was probably very stressed and overwhelmed with it being so busy. But ultimately, I ended up sitting with it. And as uncomfortable as that is, it's how we send the message to our brain that we don't need to fear this. We don't need to run away from this. And how we actually move forward. We move forward with our lives without, like I said, OCD and anxiety just chasing us. It's always on our tail, just trying to creep back in. But when we just let it be there, we're sending that powerful message to our brain. And I really emphasize this point. We send a message to our brain that we don't need to fear it. And it will release on its own. It will fizzle out. That's what it does. We sit with that anxiety. Our brain is like, we're not running away from this. We're not trying to figure it out. We're not trying to problem solve and analyze. We're not trying to do a ritual to feel better. We're just letting it sit there, and it'll just dissolve on its own. It's amazing when it happens. And when you actually figure that out and realize by doing those steps, when we're putting the framework down to actually leave those, those intrusions, those urges, those sensations, the anxiety, when we leave all that alone, it will calm down on its own. And when you actually realize it actually works, I get so many people messaging me saying how, it's amazing when it just goes on its own, because we're sending them, like I said, we're sending a big message to OCD and anxiety that we don't need to fear it. We don't need to do all these safety-seeking behaviors, because ultimately they're what keeping us trapped and keeping us stuck. So this is what I'm talking about. We don't need to focus on the end goal of being OCD free. As wonderful as that is going to be, we need to set the framework that is much more achievable, especially when we're going into a new year. So these are the goals we should have. As we move forward into 2025, we're doing things differently with our OCD and anxiety. We're going to get there. We're going to get to that end point, and it's going to take time, and there are going to be setbacks along the way. And it's important to say this because we can often feel as like we're a failure if we don't do what we were supposed to do with our OCD. If we don't, we get caught up in a thought or a ritual. That's going to happen. We're going to have setbacks along the way. Like I said, myself, I've just had a small one recently, and it was just a blip. But we can get back on track. We're not immune to getting intrusive thoughts. They're always going to happen, whether you have OCD or not. But the key thing is what we do about these intrusive thoughts, what we do about these images in our head, what we do about the urge to carry out a ritual, the rumination that we engage in. That is where we make a change. It's all about our behavior and our response to it, and whether we do engage with it or don't. We take that risk, we take that leap of faith not to go down that path. And it really is hard initially. You're going to feel that pull, you're going to feel that just, it's overpowering sometimes. It feels like you've just got to do it. And if we can just say, no, not today, be as passive as possible with OCD. And it's tough because we're going to feel that pull and that, that urge, that sense of urgency to engage with it and participate with OCD. Try and figure it out, try and come to some kind of conclusion and certainty. And that's where OCD is, it can be so overpowering. It really wants to drag you back in. But if we can just be as passive as possible, say, no, not today, you do as you want, I'm moving forward with my day, and it's going to feel like it's constantly trying to get you back and hook you back in. But if we can just move forward and move past that and just move forward with our day, doing whatever we should be doing that day, it will fade and it will fizzle out on its own. And it's just getting to that point. And like I said, just building those blocks and that framework to actually get to the bigger goal, which is to be OCD free and not to have it bother you anymore, because that is the place I am now. It doesn't bother me the same way as it did some years ago. I really don't get engaged with it, this way I used to. And it's occasionally, like I said recently, it was quite powerful, because like I said, it came along with a new symptom which I hadn't really experienced before. But those things are always going to pop up. It always finds a new way to hook you back in, and that is just the way OCD operates. It's always finding a new way to kind of pop out and engage with you. It wants you to have its attention, and it'll find a way. It will try and find a way. But if we're aware of that, that's great, because we know that it's gonna try and pull us back in and get us to participate. So if we can build those foundations for 2025, what are we going to do differently today? What am I going to do differently this week? I'm not going to be pulled into those intrusive thoughts. I'm going to let them play out in my head for as long as they want, and they will fade on their own. I'm not going to engage in that ritual that, OCD is saying you need to do this because of ABC. This may happen if you don't do that. You don't engage with it. It's going to feel uncomfortable. We're going to have to sit through some discomfort. But ultimately, by doing that, we're sending that powerful message to OCD that it's not going to rule us anymore. It's not going to control us. These are all the steps we need to take to get to that ultimate healing, and building that acceptance around it as well. This is really important as well. It's a longer road, I think, with acceptance. And, I'm almost there, but it sometimes does trip me up a little bit when you think you've accepted something and then you realise that maybe I haven't, because there's some pretty intense things and intense themes around OCD. But I'm getting there, and that's going to take a longer time, to come to that level of acceptance around your fears, the core fears that we have as OCD sufferers. But these are all the things we need to do. And I really hope this video has given you a sense of how you can move forward into a new year. It's not about being a new you. You're perfect as you are. But unfortunately, with OCD sufferers and anxiety sufferers, our behaviours can really hold us back in life. So we feel stuck and we don't move forward into the place we should be. We shouldn't have OCD ruling our life to the degree it does. And unfortunately, as a sufferer in my past myself, I know how much it can interfere with your life on a daily basis, to the point, you can become non-functioning, which is unfortunately a place I found myself at many times. But we can go into 2025 with a different attitude towards OCD. We can beat this. There is hope. This doesn't have to be a life sentence. We set these foundations for that ultimate goal that we want, which is to not have OCD and anxiety controlling our lives any longer. So I really hope this video has given you food for thought over how we should move forward into the new year. I've got lots of exciting new projects myself coming up in the new year, where I hope to help you guys if you're interested on a one-to-one basis. So let me know in the comments if this is something you'd be interested in moving forward into 2025. So for me now, I just want to wish you all, a happy new year. Let's do this. Let's not have OCD and anxiety, rob us of any more time. It takes up so much time and we don't deserve that. We deserve to live a full life without OCD and anxiety running the show. So I'll see you in the next video.